Welcome to the next episode of Wealth Strategies to Value. I'm your host, Troy Shorts. And today we have an awesome guest. I cannot wait for you guys to meet my man. This is the living legend. His name is Coach Michael McBride. Just briefly, I need to let you know, first of all, Mike is an awesome husband. Mike is an awesome father to his 3 children. Mike is a Christian man. Believe it or not, Mike is a kickboxer. I know he don't look like it, but he's a kickboxer. He'll probably kick the crap out of you. Mike is also an expert on leadership. Mike is an award-winning high school football coach with a 25-year career of excellence. And Mike is also a keynote speaker. So the reason Mike's here today is because he's made a transition in his life. And I cannot wait to let you hear from Mike about his transition in life. You know, my podcast is about bringing you my clients. I want you guys to meet the people that I deal with on an everyday basis, people that trust me, people that believe in me, people that have worked with Shorts and Associates through the years, and they've seen the fruit of the labor and the fruit of the education financially. And I want to bring you guys common people that are doing uncommon things. And that sums it up for Mike right there. All right. So with no further ado, I want to say welcome, Coach Mike McBride.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Troy, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on this platform. I'm excited to be here, excited to share some of the transformational things that have happened to me over the last couple of years that have put me into a great position financially, put me in a great position spiritually, put me in a great position as a husband, as a father, and doing all those things and allowing me to step into my purpose.
Wow. You said something big right there. Stepping into your purpose. You jumping in the deep end. You ain't even put your toes in the water.
That's it. Just hop on in. Hop in.
Awesome, man. So really quickly, I want to just give you let the people know about some of your accolades here. I mean, you have a bio that's like a mile long, but I think it's important to let people know that your leadership skills have developed so many young men on the football field, on the gridiron. And you've had a 20-year head coaching career where your teams ranked in the top 25 nationally. Like, that's huge. Mike has put over 40 kids in Division I football programs. He's responsible for over $10 million worth of scholarships and financial aid for these young people. 250 of his high school athletes have become college graduates. 250, right? And I know that some of these graduates have worked in the White House. They've become doctors. They become attorneys. They're big shots. They become real big shots, right? Corporate executives, you name it. And NFL athletes, right? You've got guys like played years in the NFL. And it all started with Coach Mike, right? I want to also get into the Wings program. Wings means Wings means with inner nurturing, greatness soars. That's what Wings mean. And if you guys look at his shirt, that little wing on his shirt, that's what that's all about. So we're going to talk about that. And he's also a founder of another group called A Few Good Men. And this is an awesome organization because what Mike does is he partners with local high school coaches and he goes and speaks to over 1,000 players per year where he mentors the coaches, he mentors the children on the team. And, you know, his passion is really to create that cohesiveness between the team and the coaches to create an environment of success, right? A winning culture, right? That's Coach Mike. He's the man. Oh, I love it.
Well, I I thank you. Um, the genesis of what all this comes from was many years ago. I was in the backyard with my dad, and he would say some profound things. Georgia farm boy, military man, and had four sons. So he was like peacock all the time. He had these four boys, and he's like, "I'm gonna show the world these four boys." And he would instill and plant seeds of leadership
Mm.
that I did not even know what they were going to grow into, but I just remember them all the time. So one of the things that I remember the with immense clarity is I remember as a secondary coach, I got hired at Woodrow Wilson High School. Shout out to Darrell Wilson and Steve Murray, all those guys that mentored me as I was coming up. And I became a secondary coach. I remember calling my dad on the phone and saying, "Hey, Dad, I got this job at Woodrow Wilson High School. I'm a secondary coach." And I was telling him all about these DBs I'm going to coach. And he said to me, I remember it clear as anything, he said, "Son, you're not a coach." I kind of like, what? I didn't say that to him because I
Right.
thought he'd come through the phone to get me. But I'm like, what? And he said, "Son, did you hear me?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're not a coach." I said, "Dad, what do you mean by that? I'm be coaching." And I started rattling off names like Darwin Darius and Anthony Carter, and I got all these great kids. He said, "Son, you're not a coach. You are a maker of men."
Wow.
And when he said that to me, I was a young man. I was young. I had like hair. I don't have any hair anymore. Like a nice chocolate dark beard. I don't have any gray any gray hairs in my eyebrows. Um, but I remember him saying that to me, and that seed that he dropped on that fertile ground, which
Mm.
was my mind, it took hold. And ladies and gentlemen, I would be lying to you if I said like from that moment it changed my life. No, it didn't. I bumped my head on a whole bunch of things, but it stayed with me. And when it was time for it to blossom,
Mm.
it came up.
Wow.
And for me, that for me that was that moment. And when I realized it, because a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, things have been poured into us. A lot of information has been poured into us. Great information. But it's the moment that the light comes on and we start to realize it. That's
Mm.
when everything starts to blossom.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Man, that's an awesome story. So I want people to understand that you were a high school teacher and a coach for a long time. And I want you to share the transition. How did you go from being a teacher, making a six-figure income, to having the courage, man, just the courage to step away and the courage to follow your heart. So I want you to share that story with us. And, just on top of that, I want to ask you, once you got to where you are, what was the biggest adversity that you had to overcome?
Yes, yes. Um, some years back, I was blessed to have the opportunity to speak. There is a clinic. I'm not saying local. It's a national football clinic,
Yeah.
and it's called the Glazier Clinic.
Yeah.
And every year I would go and I would go speak on some secondary stuff, some defensive football stuff. And it happened this one year. I don't know what we were talking about, but I said something that pertained to leadership. And as an educator, I got in that room the international the international way for a student to say, "I understand you." It was this.
Hmm.
I got the head tilt
Yeah.
from about probably about three-quarters of the room.
Hmm.
So at that moment, even though I finished with what I was speaking about, I said to myself, I said, wow, if the leaders of these teams don't connect with the concept of leadership, how how are we teaching our young people how to be leaders? So I went back and I started just thinking to myself, and I said, well, I'm going to ask. At that time, it's Dave Riley who runs a lot of the speakers, and I said, Coach Riley, the next time that I come, can I speak on some leadership? So mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna just give you a picture. I have worked myself as a speaker of football content to like the beginning of the clinics, like the first session or the second session. If you're aware of like clinics, that is when you get all the people coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's coming in. So I was like that hot name. So everybody's gonna come in and talk to Coach McBride. Michael McBride's gonna talk on secondary play and all these things like that. When I made that transition to want to speak on leadership, ladies and gentlemen, I was put in the back of the clinic. Or even worse, the worst thing, well, it's the best thing because it allowed me to hone my skill.
Right.
I, I had to speak in Atlantic City, and the one thing you don't want to do is be in Atlantic City during a conference and speak on a Saturday evening because everybody and what happened was I got myself ready, came down on the elevator, and the elevator is packed with guys. I'm like, man, this is gonna be great. Everybody's gonna come on down here and listen to what I have to say. So my room was to the right of the elevator. Well, the elevator goes ding and opens the door. I go right, the crowd goes left into the casinos. So I'm like, oh, so it got it was an opportunity to to be humbled at that time, because I was feeling myself. I was
Right.
just this slick speaker and
Yeah.
these things like this. And I went in there and I remember hearing a guy named Jim Rome. And Jim Rome always said, no matter if you have 1,000 or you have one, you give them the same service. So I
Right.
went into that room, and the only thing I could see was a bunch of chairs.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 coaches came in, and I like had the best engagement with them. So from there, that's where that drive, that incredible decision within myself to 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 shift from football to leadership,
Mm.
and it has grown. So now your second question was what obstacles, and and one of the things that I there was a feeling. So when I retired from coaching in 2010, there was an incredible feeling that came over me. And it was almost like I fell out of love with coaching football. I didn't fall out of love with coaching kids. I didn't fall out of love with all that stuff. This football wasn't what that was
Mm-hmm.
once was for me. So, and when I knew it was, we had a evening game, and I always rode on the JV bus with my younger players because I think it was very important that they connected with the head coach because a lot of times head coaches ride with the varsity guys and don't really connect with the
Yeah.
younger guys until they need them. So
Right.
I always told my babies, I love y'all, so I'm around the bus with y'all. So we used to have a good time. I
Mm-hmm.
say, listen, you varsity guys, nobody on the bus talking. Make sure your mouths are quiet. We get on JV bus, we talk the whole time. So they loved it. So there was one time where we went to a night game, and I remember it was probably like the second weekend in October. And we stopped at a light. We were on one of our local highways, and it was a restaurant. And I looked over and I saw a couple sitting there. And I said to myself instantly, I want to do that with my wife. I
Wow.
want to be able, and at that moment, ladies and gentlemen, it happened that fast. I fell out of love with football.
Wow.
Fell out of love with football. So then that was easy to tell my wife, like, look, I'm going to retire from this. But fast forward like some years beyond that, then I got that same feeling. I'm saying this because I knew what happened to me because I had the same feeling. So about 12 years later, I get the same feeling about teaching. But there's a huge obstacle, and that's fear. My
Wow.
fear paralyzed me because I could not bring myself to say to my wife, I don't love this anymore because it was paying for our benefits, it was paying our mortgages, it was
Yeah.
doing all those financial things. It had
Yeah.
us covered,
Yeah.
had us covered. So for me to say that I don't want to do this, I want to go into this. It took it took some time, ladies and gentlemen. Like I would wake up like in fear.
Mm.
And my wife is very supportive and all those things like that. But I was, as a man, I was afraid to say it to her. So I would say it to people around. I'm gonna be out of here. I'm gonna be out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. And one day she came to me and she said, Michael, why am I hearing from people around you that you're going to retire? And at that moment, I was caught. So I had to tell her, I was like, honey, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember with all the love in the world, she said to me, honey, if you don't want to do this, don't do it. And it was almost like I sprung these incredible wings.
Mm.
And I was able, because I was on the edge looking off that cliff, like, okay, I gotta take this leap of
Leap of
faith.
faith.
I take this leap of faith. I gotta take this leap of faith. But I was like, I didn't tell her. But
Yeah.
we had all that. But you didn't tell her. You gotta make sure and do. Well, I don't know. I don't know about these bills, brother. You got these young kids. All that stuff was like blowing me back. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. And when she said that to me, I my wings came out and I stepped right off and I
Mm.
started to
Yeah. That's
and
all.
and I read this book and is by this guy named Ryan Holiday. And the title of the book is The Obstacle is the Way. And I read that book and it talked about stepping through your fears and there are going to be obstacles, ladies and gentlemen, that are in your way that seem insurmountable. You know,
Mm.
you're going to look at them and like, man, how do I get up this mountain? You know how you get up that mountain? One step at a
Step
time.
at a time.
One
Yeah.
step at a time. And that changed my life. Now, I would be I would be disingenuous if I sat here and say I don't feel fear all the time. But what life has done for me is it has taught me to step into it and attack it.
Yeah.
We cannot run from our fear because we can't outrun our fear. No matter how that is the fastest thing in the world is our fear. It's always going to be there. But when we step into it and we shine the light on it, then all of a sudden it starts to dissipate. And
Yeah.
as we get stronger, I'm not saying that fear is going to disappear, but what happens is you get stronger into stepping through your fear, stepping into your fear. And I
Yeah.
say something, I do a piece on leadership with coaches from around the country. And I say to them, I said, you have to make fear your friend. It's not your adversary. You have to be comfortable with it so you can say, okay, there you are. I'm gonna come right to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come not, oh, I'm gonna go the other way. Because you try to go the other way, it's gonna go the other way too. It got all the moves. I say it to my young people, us being educated. My wife's a principal. I'm educated for 29 years. I say to my we say to our children, you can't flim flam us. We know all the moves,
Tricks. Yeah.
all the kids, we know all that stuff. So fear knows all the moves.
Yeah.
So the best way for us to deal with it is to walk through it. And
Absolutely.
those obstacles in life, I still have challenges. I wake up every day, but I wake up every day with this sense of this incredible achievement because the thing that held me back the most for so many years, I was able to shatter it by
Yeah.
walking into it and saying, "This is what I'm going to do." And again, fear may not be a whole bunch of things, tangible things. It may be us saying to one that we love so much, I need to do this. I
Yeah.
really, I just need you. I need your blessing,
Yeah.
and that was fuel for my rockets.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Listen, man, I love what you're saying. I love your story. it's just it's just so transcendent because I talk to a lot of people, a lot of very very smart people who are tied to their careers, and they're not allowing their talents to be fruitful, and they're afraid. And you said it just right. Like once you identify the fear and you attack the fear went from this big, it was only this big. It
Hmm.
really wasn't as big as you thought it was.
Yes.
Like our imagination makes things way bigger than what they actually are.
Mhm.
And I think that's just an awesome life lesson, man. To anyone who's listening, who may be where you were, this would be the most inspiring thing for them to know that, hey, listen, man, you got to follow your heart. You gotta have more faith in what you don't see than what you do see, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Um, if there's anyone listening out there that needs a keynote speaker, this is my guy. This is my guy. So I haven't told Mike this yet, but I'm planning on doing a client event where I want to invite my clients to dinner, have a nice dinner, introduce them to each other. And I would love for Mike to be my keynote speaker. So you're hearing this for the first time.
Thank you.
But yeah, man, because I just believe in you, and I've seen the fruit of your labor with my own two eyes. And it's ripe. You know what I'm saying? It's ripe fruit. And that's why I had to have you here, bro. I had to have you because I love it. Is there anything else you want to talk about that you think is important regarding your corporate speeches, your speeches that you do on leadership for coaches? Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. What we tend to do with the Wings Project, and the Wings,
Right.
ironically, the Wings Project was formed before I even thought about speaking. So the letters with inner nurturing greatness soars, near, because we did so many things with recruiting and with our high school. I was at Winslow Township High School. I was the head football coach, and we had folks coming all over the place. We had Penn State coming in, Nebraska, you name it, they were coming. David Shaw flew all the way in from Stanford to
Stanford.
see one of our players. And I was, because we had so many coaches, and traffic was just so tremendous. Our principal at that time, Glenn Jackson, he said, "Hey, Coach McBride, do you want to be the ISS teacher?" And I was like, when all the kids get suspended, I'm going in there. And but what happened was, God knows where to place you, and he'll use someone else to help you get into a position that will help you grow.
Mm,
So for me, Mr. Jackson putting me in ISS allowed me to do two things. It allowed me to connect with a population, that outer fringe population, that those young men that kept getting suspended,
mm,
that connected with me as the football coach, and I
mm,
had the opportunity to speak to them
mm,
on these in these intimate settings,
mm,
because we had that classroom, and probably we had no more than like 5 or 6 in there. So I had the opportunity to have a captive audience all day long, pouring life into me like my father did when he was fixing things underneath the hood of that truck, underneath
wow,
the shade in the backyard.
wow.
So in that, I said to myself, I said, we need to start a group. We need to start a group. And I was sitting there one day, and I was just writing some stuff down, and it started to come out with inner nurturing greatness soars. And I'm like, man, wings. And then, like, I did like the logo and all that stuff, like, years. I mean, this is like 2008, 2009. I started this. So it really started to grow. Now, the group with the young men at risk, it never got off the ground because then I got moved to the middle school and things like that. But what I'm saying to you is it opened up so many doors. So what we do now, we went from speaking this exclusively the athletic coaches to through putting all our work in, we actually started going to corporate settings. And it was ironic how it happened because probably about 6, 7 years ago, I get a phone call and it's Geico. And I'm like, well, I don't have Geico. I'm not listening to this message. I'm about to hang up on this message. I'm like, I don't have no Geico. And it and the woman said, you were suggested to us to speak at our leadership conference.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, wow. And that was the first opportunity we had to speak at a corporate level. And what, again, fear, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, fear has the opportunity to pop his head up, be popping his head up all the time. Like, hey, okay, it's different talking to them coaches. Now you got to talk to some folks, some folks are going to be in some shirts and ties and all that stuff. What you going to say now? So for me, it was that moment where I stepped into the fear and I had that opportunity to say, okay, let's do this now. Then I prayed. I'm a praying man. God has changed my life and it opened so many doors. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if I could tell you back then that I knew that being diligent and following this path and being a mindful man of God and doing all the things I'm supposed to do as a husband, as a father, and all those things would open doors. I had the opportunity to speak to the agents of Homeland Security. Like
Wow.
wow, like I'm in there speaking to federal agents. I had the opportunity to go speak to the Camden County Superintendents Association, where the entire room was nothing but school superintendents. And
Wow.
so what we try to do with the Wings Project is what I hang my hat on is being practical and being relatable.
Wow.
And because what I try to do, and here's what I say, wherever I go, remember we go to the doctors, and when we go to the doctors, and you have what's called bedside manner. So if this doctor comes in and they start talking to you in all the medical doctor terms, no matter how smart we are, we're like, what do you? And I'll slow them down, like, wait, what are you saying? Because I have to come back. I got to report all this stuff to my wife. What's going on? I can't use all these terms. Say it to me in a way that I can carry away.
Yeah.
So that's when I go and speak. I speak in a way that everyone in the room can carry something away with.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
I don't want to ever lose anyone. So if you ever hire us, which I hope you do on every event, understand that we will connect, we will engage, we will force you to reflect, and we will do all the things that we need to do to make sure that your group is satisfied as they walk out. I had someone ask me, "Are you a motivational speaker?" I'm like, "No, I'm not a motivational speaker." Because and I said this to some coaches. I said, because you know what motivational speakers are? Motivational speakers are what we do, Coach Short, when we're getting our team ready before the game.
Yeah.
I said, you know who I am? I'm us at halftime. See, because at halftime, we're not motivating, we teach.
Making adjustments.
We making adjustments. So that's how I hang my hat on this incredible journey that we're in. I'm not going to try to dazzle you with 3 and 4 and 5 syllable words. I'm going to break it down so everybody can understand. So someone can turn to somebody else like, this guy knows what he's talking.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I just wanted to make a brief comment, like about motivation, because this is my season 2 podcast, and I'm bringing on my clients, and I want them to share with the public, what we're doing. I want to just introduce amazing people, and I say to people, I don't want this. The purpose of this is not to motivate anybody. The purpose of this is to inspire people. That's why you're here. right? I personally believe motivation comes from within your own heart. I can't make you motivate. That's something that you have to do on your own. But I can definitely inspire you. And I can inspire by sharing specific examples of people like you who've overcome insurmountable odds and continue to just win. Because that's what you do. You're a winner. You've been winning since you started coaching football, right? You just keep winning. Every endeavor, you just conquer it. You win. You win, you win, you win. And everybody wants to be around winners. That's why I got you here. That's why you're my man. Um, I'm gonna try to land this plane a little bit, all right. But
Yes,
before I
sir.
do,
Yes, sir.
I want to do a little quick word association. So I
Yes.
want to be able to say some words to you, and I want you, Mike, to just say really what comes to mind when I say this word. All right, is that cool?
Yes. I'm gonna
You
close my eyes so
okay?
I can see
Okay.
better with my eyes closed.
Okay. All right. It's not too complicated, but I just think these are some words that I think you can address. All right. So here's the first word. When I say the word adversity to you, what comes to mind?
Wow. Fear. Um, and the ability to step into it and not to understand that all our adversity is our inner self telling us that we can't do it. When you speak to your inner self to say that we have to get through it, is a difference between what we tell ourselves on the inside, because that propels action,
Yeah.
and action is what gets us through adversity.
Wow. I love it. All right. Here's another one. You ready for this one?
Yes.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, collaboration. We can't do it on our own, and too many times we look at ourselves and say, I have to do this, and not understand that there are people that have been through our steps, then been down
Yes.
our road,
Yep.
and those things like that. So you'll be surprised that there are people within your inner circle, or if not in your inner circle, in their inner circle, that you reach out, that collaboration can help you grow and can help you become better in the area that we want to become better.
Yeah, man. Uh, Teamwork make the dream work, right?
Mm.
All right, last one. Last one.
Yes.
I think you'll crush this one. Leadership.
Leadership is servanthood. Being able to and understand that leadership and is a gift that people give you, and
Mm,
they only give you that when you serve them. If you help them get what they need to get, they will help you as you move forward. And I say this all the time to leaders: leadership is not yours to keep. It is
wow.
not a thing where it's ownership. Leadership is part of the plant process, because we want to make more leaders, not followers. That's how leadership starts to grow. And when people see that you are giving of yourself and give your heart to them, then all of a sudden people will say, "I'll follow that woman. I'll follow that man to where they need to go."
Wow, dude. I love it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's like I need to pass the plate around. Like this is like church, man. Get an offering going here.
Amen.
I love it, man. So listen, I want to end by just saying I really appreciate you taking some time out to be on my podcast. This is a financial podcast, right? And we haven't talked about numbers, we haven't talked about money, but I think what we're talking about is real life, right? We're talking about things that move the needle, right?
Yes.
It's not just financial planning and numbers and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just very proud to have you in my circle. I'm proud to have you as my client. I'm proud to have just to have you on my podcast. All right. So with that being said, I want to just tell everybody to please follow us, and please share our podcast with people that you know, people that you love, people that you trust. Our mission at Wealth Strategies to Value is to help our clients have a healthier, a safer, and a much more enjoyable retirement. Until the next podcast, I'm signing off. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.